Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I guess today, Eric Bandholz. Correct me if I'm saying that wrong, Eric. But yeah, just Eric, tell us where you're calling in from and what you do for a living with Beard Brand.
Yeah, Beard Brand is my company. It's a men's grooming company that is on a mission to help men loving the man looking back at them in the mirror. And we do that through, of course, incredible products that are made not just for the beard, but also your face, your body, hair, but also through content that we produce. We produce content on our YouTube channel with over a couple million subscribers. We've got a blog with thousands of articles, and of course, social media and paid mediums as well. So we bootstrap that company. We've been in business for over 10 years now.
Awesome.
And just trying to build it the way that we want to build it, that gives us the kind of life that we want to live.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And can you tell me a little bit about your background leading up to, wanting to create a brand like this? I mean, obviously, it's definitely, I could tell it's mission-based, kind of like men's mental health surrounding. I can tell from the website, just the way you talk about it. So what kind of led you to wanting to create this brand almost 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, so I used to work at a mega bank as a financial advisor and really hated that environment. This expectation to look and act a certain way was really not something I felt comfortable with. So I quit working there. I grew my beard out and continued, trying to start up some other businesses at the time. But people would call me like ZZ Top and Grizzly Adams, Duck Dynasty, and those are all cool dudes. But these hands were made for keyboards. They weren't made for axes. And I realized there was a community of guys that didn't really fit the traditional stereotype of what a bearded guy was. And what I wanted to do is unite those men and give them the tools they needed to feel confident about growing and caring for their beard. So that was the ideation behind Beard Brand, was really to target these urban beardsmen and really shift perceptions of facial hair. We started in, like 2012, I guess. I started growing my big beard in like 2011. And at that time, especially where I lived, there wasn't much social tolerance for facial hair in, like corporate environments or in legal environments or sales. And now, 12 years later, I would say we won. Like there's no concern or question whether or not a man can grow facial hair in pretty much any industry, with the exception of maybe like firefighter, where you need to have a mask for good seal. So, or military in certain cases like that. But yeah. So we've won and we're continuing our fight to really help men. And I do think like right now it's an interesting time because, men seem to be target number one. I want to say enemy number one because men are very valuable to society. But, to really have a voice for men and understand what they're doing. A men's brand serving men. I think there's a lot of brands out there that maybe aren't run by men that are targeting them with similar products. So it's nice to be able to kind of like shape the narrative of what it means to be a man in today's environment and how you can care for yourself.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I guess like almost 10 years ago, I mean, did you start with the kind of YouTube series first and like doing that kind of advocacy first and then the product kind of came after, or were you more like product focused and kind of did the social media and that kind of part of the messaging in tandem with it at the same time? Just curious.
Yeah, so I started Beard Brand in 2012 as a Tumblr blog and a YouTube channel, and we produced and our own blog. So we produced content for about a year, and then we launched our first product. We started selling products in 2013. I say that, but the following really wasn't that big in that first year. Maybe we had 300 subscribers on YouTube or something like that. So it was a real small community. It's always, in my mind, it's always been a mission first type of organization, but our organic content and our company growth has really been kind of parallel.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I guess I'm curious with a brand like this. I mean, what kind of channels did you go after once the brand itself, with the actual product started catching some traction? I mean, do you sell into like grocery stores and things like that? Do you sell mostly direct online? I mean, where have you seen the most traction with the sales?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey. So depending on the year, it kind of affects that answer. In the early days, we actually leveraged a lot of PR to try to get our word out that way. Or I do a lot of podcasts. I was pretty public with how I was building it. I would share updates on Reddit Entrepreneur subreddit. and just kind of really had like primarily organic growth to the company in that first year. We're bootstrapped, so we didn't have a lot of capital to invest in things, and we also didn't really know what our product offering was going to be. So we tested various products in that first year as we tried to figure out really what our customers were looking for.
Mhm.
As we continue to grow, organic has always been like our bread and butter and where we started from. We have sprinkled in, paid through Google and Facebook over the years. And we've also had primarily direct to consumer as our number one sales channel. We've gotten back into Amazon as of about a year ago. And we were in Target for about 3 or 4 years, but we're no longer selling in that. We also work with a number of smaller boutique barbershops and pharmacies
Gotcha.
around around the world, but it's not a major source of our revenue.
Right. No, that's awesome. And as far as like the D2C channel goes, I mean, it's obviously selling D2C is obviously great because you get all the direct interaction, customer feedback, really have like a conversation with your customer that way. What do you find is like, I guess when you like the impetus of the brand, like who did you think your ideal customer was at that time? And like as it's grown and like developed into, I'm sure like reaching probably a broader audience than where you started. I mean, where do you find like your most frequent customer now versus like what you thought your ideal customer was at the start, if they're different?
Yeah. I mean, Beard Brand started, I would say like I'm customer number one. So it's really building a brand that serves my wants and needs, not exclusively, but primarily. Like, so I get
Right.
inspiration for products that I need or tools that I use and how I want to, utilize my grooming routine and what kind of thing that I like in life. And then hopefully, find other like-minded people who, see the same value in what we're producing. And that kind of is true to this day. It was never like, hey, let's build a market for XYZ because they've got the most money or they're not being
Right.
tapped or whatever. It's just like, I just want to build something cool for me and then hope there's other people out there and understand that, there's going to be limitations to that. There's only so many people who think like me and see the world like me and prefer products like me. So I'm also okay with it growing to a point that maybe isn't, a unicorn or $100 million brand or, is on every single shelf everywhere serving everyone. That's okay to me. As long as the business allows me to create the life that I'm looking for.
Yeah, I respect that. And, I feel like for the sake of longevity, I mean, I think that's the kind of thinking behind brands that people end up sticking with for a really long time. I think sometimes if you're only thinking about, the marketing message and like kind of like filling in like pieces of puzzles, like for revenue's sake and things like that, I feel like those kinds of attitudes towards, running a business that came out of passion and is mission based like yours is, I feel like can be very fleeting. So I can really respect that as a business owner, having that perspective is just like, doing it the way that you like and what you know that like-minded people in your community of buyers and people that follow you on social media also like. Yeah, I quite like that. That's awesome. And do you find that social media is one of your biggest drivers to people eventually like buying from you? I mean, I would assume that would be the case, but where do you find the most traction as far as like revenue generating things and like anything you do with marketing and your paid advertising? Just curious.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, social media is the behemoth in the room. If you consider YouTube as social media, that's historically been our
Yeah,
top organic channel with we have two channels, one with 2 million subscribers, another with 200,000 subscribers.
that's awesome. Yeah.
So we produce a lot of content in there. We're an education first type of an organization. So we try to give value before we ask for value. It's been challenging these past, 18, 24 months or so as the environment changes with the various algorithms in the marketplace and as YouTube tries to compete with TikTok, they push shorts, so that kind of forces us to produce content in a different way. And so we are always constantly evaluating like what are the best techniques and how do we produce content or ads in the way that is most beneficial to the sustainability of the company, something that we can enjoy doing and is fruitful and profitable. And so it is like a lot of lessons learned and 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or sometimes as the past couple of years has been as 2 steps back and 1 step forward. So nothing's really easy, but yeah, Meta's been something we're leaning on lately. And then also Amazon is something that we're exploring to see if we can get some traction on that platform.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess I'm curious a little bit more about, what you're doing with the social media channel and what is like a typical type of content that you talk about. I mean, can you give me an example of something you posted recently from like an education standpoint for like, maybe any young men listening to even this podcast? What can they come to expect and types of things that you like to talk about on your social media channels and what would like the kind of education that way?
Yeah, so our big channel, we have a barbershop right across the alley.
Oh, cool.
And we'll film guys getting a haircut and, provide education on like how to, understand what the haircut is, how to describe that to your barber. And then the barber will give like advice and techniques on how they're cutting it so that the consumer can become better educated to getting a good haircut that's going to help them look their best. And we try to get a wide variety of clients in there so that, depending on, really like you're not going to have interest in some dude with like long flowing blonde hair and like a complete shave. So it's like
Right.
by having a lot of variety, we're able to provide a lot of resources to a diverse audience of people and helping them really find their style. And then there's a lot of hairstyles that you can rock or wear. So being able to document what the various hairstyles and beard styles are for people. Our smaller channel is kind of more of the talking head traditional beauty style. Our most recent content, we have content creator Greg Brzezinski. He talked about Post Malone's beard and how it seems like it's filled in over the past like 10 years since he's been public. And then like, is he using, beard transplants or, what kind of regimen would he be on to get his beard to fill in and kind of like give advice from that perspective. So that's just one example, but we'll do like styling tutorials, like how to use a hair dryer, how to use a blow dryer, how to trim your beard at home, how to trim your neckline, what to do with like an itchy beard, how to get through like the awkward stages of growing your hair out. All these stories or guides on how to elevate and improve your grooming routines.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, I feel like it is something that's kind of missing in like just general sentiment for men. I mean, guys don't talk about like, doing their hair really growing up. I mean, everything's kind of like exclusive to the barbershop. It's conceived sometimes. And even me, like, I'm very flexible with my hairstyles. I've had hair down to my shoulders. I've shaved my head bald. I mean, I'm definitely open to like new ideas, but yeah, it is interesting though, because you think about those like kind of in between stages of trying to do something new, and like you don't even know who to ask. Like I usually go to like my girlfriends who work in salons for advice, and it just I don't know. There's just something about like a community of men like to talk, having these conversations, and it's very unique, and I think it's definitely something that was needed as like a conversation, a community out there. So yeah, I really appreciate what you're doing, and so I guess one of the thing I just always love to ask everybody that comes on the podcast, obviously, especially someone like you who's obviously had success, and it's been 10 plus years now. If you go back to creating your experience creating a YouTube channel and creating a brand, a for-profit brand, if you go back and give yourself one piece of advice, business, personal, whatever it might be, if you can go back to that time 10 years ago, what do you think that piece of advice would be?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to hiring. I think we made a lot of mistakes in the early days on our hiring practices. We learned to implement a program called top grading, which is really a multi-step process that involves letting the candidate know you're going to be asking for references and then interviewing them around how those references are going to, answer these questions, and then calling up the references and verifying, what the candidate is saying. So that's a really good process you're never going to get hiring 100%, but it's going to lift it from, a 50-50 kind of thing to, like maybe a 90%. So you feel pretty confident that the people that you're going to be bringing in. And now like the mistakes that I make around hiring or whenever I'm like breaking that, that process,
Right.
kind of making exceptions for it. So I would say look into that, if you're at that stage where you need to bring on people. But besides that, it's you have to constantly, I don't feel like I would need to tell myself this because it's been something that we've been good at implementing throughout the 10 years but you always have to evaluate why you're building the business and what is the purpose for that, because it's easy to get pulled down certain directions that do not align with the purpose of building a business. If your purpose is to get like mega rich and filthy rich and stuff like that, your decisions are going to be completely different than trying to build a lifestyle business that you're going to pass on to your kids.
Right.
So when building, we want to build a lifestyle business that we enjoy. So how do we build a business that I can work at for another 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, even if I am financially independent, but because I love the business, I love the people I work with, I love my customers. A lot of people end up hating their business, and I can't imagine anything worse than hating your business and literally being tied to it because of the fact you're an owner, and it's hard to shed a business. It's hard to walk away from a business. So, making decisions with intention, knowing that there are trade-offs for things, but those trade-offs are unavoidable. Let's be real, and a requirement for you to always evaluate if you're doing things the right way or not.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that answer, and it's actually quite a unique answer. It's funny. A lot of times when I ask that question, people are always joking, but a lot of times the answer to that question I'll get is like, just don't do it. Like, don't quit your job. Which, like, obviously people always follow up with like no, of course I'm kidding. Like, I would never do anything different in the world. But I think people do kind of have that perspective of, that's why I love doing the podcast the way that we do, and just like having like an opportunity for other business owners and growing brands to kind of share their experiences, because I hear so many common denominators between the founders that I interview. It's a lot of shared experiences, and everybody feels like they're the only one going through it sometimes, but it's definitely not true. I mean, even people who've been in business 20 years and are having success seem to have the same kind of, whether it's like a little bit of imposter syndrome or maybe just like stretched too thin with capital. I mean, it's just a common experience at every stage of business. So yeah, man, I really appreciate your insights, Eric. I love what you're doing. I think it is kind of an underserved community these days, especially as just a general like conversational, educational community. So I really appreciate what you're doing. I love it. And yeah, just want to give you an opportunity too for anybody listening, might be interested in partnering with you on a maybe like business capacity, or maybe just interested in checking out your products. Just want to give you an opportunity to shout out the brand and any of your socials or anything. Let people know how to stay in touch with you guys.
Yeah, head over to beardbrand.com, beard like your facial hair, and buy some products, because then you'll see what our welcome flow is like, as well as how we deliver products and the small touches that we do and to include in the order. Our products don't know your gender, so if you happen to be a woman listening, a lot of women love our sea salt spray. Our balm and our oil is great. It's usually going to be more cost-effective alternatives to the what do they call that? The beauty
pink tax.
Yeah, the pink tax that women pay. So you can come to us for same or higher quality products at a more economical price. And then me personally, if you kind of align with my mindset in the world, follow me on X. It's my last name, Bandholz, B as in boy, ANDHOLZ.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, I really appreciate your time again, man. Appreciate your insights, and I wish you nothing but good luck and continued success.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, everybody.